Once upon a time, in a bustling town filled with curious kids and exciting inventions, a brilliant but clumsy scientist named Dr. Fizzle was working on his latest experiment. He wanted to create unpoppable bubbles that could carry messages across the skies. Deep in his laboratory, surrounded by jars of glowing liquids and stacks of books, Dr. Fizzle poured one too many drops of a mysterious green potion into his bubble formula. Suddenly, a giant bubble emerged from his machine, pulsing with an eerie glow. Before Dr. Fizzle could react, the bubble began to expand and floated out the window into the streets of the town. At first, the townsfolk were amazed. Children laughed and chased the bubble, thinking it was a magical attraction. But soon, the bubble started to act strangely. It absorbed smaller bubbles and grew larger with every passing moment. Worse still, anything the bubble touched became stuck inside its gooey walls. Bicycles, flower pots, and even Dr. Fizzle's poor cat, Mittens. The townspeople grew frightened as the bubble began to block streets and cause chaos. Far away, Venom was taking a peaceful stroll through the woods, enjoying a rare moment of quiet. He heard the distant sounds of panic and decided to investigate. Swinging into the town square, he was shocked to see the giant, wobbly bubble floating through the streets, trapping objects and people as it went. Venom approached the scared townsfolk and asked what had happened. A group of children explained how the bubble had grown out of control and that even the scientists didn't know how to stop it. Realizing this was no ordinary bubble, Venom knew his symbiote powers might be the town's only hope. The giant bubble continued to cause mischief, floating higher and higher, almost reaching the rooftops. Venom leapt into action, climbing the tallest building to get a closer look. He used his stretchy, gooey tendrils to try and pop the bubble, but to his surprise, it was as strong as steel. Each time he struck, the bubble simply bounced back, sending him flying. Determined not to give up, Venom swung back down to confront Dr. Fizzle. "What's inside this thing?" he demanded. Dr. Fizzle admitted he had used an experimental potion to strengthen the bubbles but had forgotten to test it properly. Venom shook his head and explained to the scientist and the kids why safety in experiments was so important. Venom then devised a new plan. Instead of popping the bubble, he decided to coat it with his symbiote goo. His goo could counteract the potion's effects and dissolve the bubble slowly. Venom climbed to a high vantage point and unleashed a flurry of sticky, black goo. The bubble began to shrink, wobbling and glowing less brightly with every passing second. The kids cheered as the bubble shrank smaller and smaller until it was no bigger than a beach ball. With one final flick of his goo, Venom caught the tiny bubble and handed it back to Dr. Fizzle, who promised to dispose of it safely. The trapped objects and Mittens the cat were finally freed, and the town was back to normal. The townsfolk celebrated Venom's bravery and quick thinking. Dr. Fizzle apologized to everyone and vowed to be more careful with his experiments. He even promised to teach the kids about science safety so they could learn from his mistakes. From that day on, Venom became the town's honorary hero, not just for saving the day but for teaching everyone the value of responsibility. The kids waved goodbye as Venom swung away, leaving the town a little safer and a lot less bubbly.